Hi, Claire and James here. Just before we get stuck into this week's episode, we wanted to let you know the exciting news that the Midlife Reset audit is now live. This is a first of its kind personalised diagnostic tool designed for midlifers by midlifers.
In just 3 minutes, the audit will help you pinpoint what's really holding you back from living your healthiest, happiest midlife, and most importantly, provide tailored strategies on how to take back control. Midlife doesn't have to be a time of uncertainty. It can be an era of growth, discovery, and well-being. So to go ahead and take the audit, go to themidlifementors.com/audit.
As we head into winter with the colder, darker days, we're more likely to feel anxiety, low mood, and perhaps even depression.
So in this short episode, we offer some simple reminders about what we can do to help ourselves move through this season with greater ease and positivity. Hi, I'm James Davis.
And I'm Claire Davis.
We're the Midlife Mentors, here to lift the lid on how to achieve health and happiness.
The balanced, no-nonsense way.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Midlife Mentors with me, James.
And me, Claire. We're late doing this.
We are. It is a great Sunday morning. We're late because yesterday we're at a show.
We were. And actually, we've had the craziest week. The most amazing week.
It's been a crazy week, yes.
We've been doing lots of stuff around the menopause, haven't we? Because obviously
lots of corporate work.
Yes, because it's, it was International Menopause Day on Thursday or Friday. So we've been doing lots of work around that. You went up north.
Yes. I went and spoke to a large group of guys about the menopause and how they could be better allies for the women in their life, either at work or at home, or both, I should say. So that was really, really good to do.
Yeah, and then yesterday we were at the Clean and Tidy Home Show and we did a couple of talks there, and that's actually kind of what's inspired the podcast for today, really, because when we did our last talk, we got asked, like, what are your top tips? And actually, I know, especially with the change in weather, we're going into winter, it can feel very, very easy to start slipping and sliding into a bit of anxiety, low mood, even like depression. So we just wanted, I know we've done a few podcasts on this, well, we've been going 4.5 years. Of course, we talked about anxiety before, but we just wanted to really recap on some simple strategies that you can do for the long term that are going to really help. Some things that we forget about, that are going to really, really help with your anxiety levels as we move into winter. Winter is coming. So unless you've got anything else to say about what we've been up to, I think we've just been busy. Well, the
other thing I'll just throw in here, it is your last chance to join the Midlife Reset program. We are closing the doors in about
2 weeks.
2 weeks, yeah. So it is a life-changing program. Obviously, hundreds and hundreds of clients have been through it. It's true, holistic, integrated approach. So it's not just about your body, right? About the physical. We help you get clear on your values, your goals, your purpose. So yes, we're moving on to other things. So we're going to wind that up at the end of the year. So this is your last chance to jump on board. If you want to, then just book a free call. Let's have a chat.
Yeah, I'll put the link in the show notes as always. But yeah, it's a really exciting time for us, isn't it? We are winding it down, and we're moving on to pastures new, doing lots more corporate work and speaking and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I'll put the link in the show notes to book a free call with us. So let's dive in, shall we? Look, we've got 7 tips that we wanted to go through with you today on this podcast. And the first one, do you want to take the first one, Mr.
Yeah,
D?
the first one is try and watch your sugar intake, because sugar is inflammatory to the body, to the gut, to the brain, and it does also cause low-level anxiety as well. And sugar is in absolutely everything. So, this isn't so much about watching the teaspoons you're putting in your cup of tea or your coffee, although, yeah, we do want to watch those. It's about checking food labeling, right? Seeing how much extra sugar is in there. And when you're looking at ingredients, not just seeing just sugar, looking out for all the other crafty names they have for it, like nectar, syrup, all kinds of things. So we've talked a lot about sugar and what's high and what's low on other podcasts, but I'd say there's no doubt that if you have a lot of sugar in your diet, you're likely to be more prone to anxiety. So let's start reducing that sugar. And I know that can be hard in winter, right? Because we start to crave, as it gets darker, those high energy foods. So just be aware of it.
Yeah, and I know we've said that we've done lots of podcasts on sugar before, but do you just want to give people, I think it's, repetition is mastery, isn't it? So actually just reminding people maybe on what is a high sugar product and what is a low sugar product.
Yeah, so NHS guidelines would say anything above 22.5% sugar is a high sugar product. So if you're looking at the thing on the back, it will give you a percentage or it will give you per 100 grams. Be careful though, sometimes they're crafty. If it's a small thing, it'll be like per 30 grams. So just check the amount you're referencing against. But essentially, yes, 22.5% is high, 5% or below is low. So obviously we want to be like shooting as low as we can. But I'd say always look to get it below, 18, 17 if you can. And you would be really surprised. Stuff you'd think, well, that won't have sugar in it. You pick it up and look at it and you'd be like, wow, it has got sugar. So it gets added to bread, it gets added to sauces. Yeah. There's a lot in our food.
And also do the 80-20 rule. 80% of the time, we're not saying cut out sugar altogether, but we are saying that if you are feeling anxious, then sugar is going to definitely exacerbate the issue. So just making sure that you are doing like 80% of the time, and then, knock yourself out if you want some ice cream or, a chocolate ice cream.
I can tell someone's craving ice cream, aren't they?
I don't normally crave ice cream. I just thought about ice cream then, and I thought I would share that. Yes, I probably am craving it. But yeah, knock yourself out. It's not about completely cutting out sugar from your diet, but actually because it is in everything, just being really conscious. And the next one is alcohol. Now, listen, I'm not puritanical about alcohol. I have chosen to go alcohol-free myself. I'm on day 113 today, I think, of being alcohol-free. And it has massively, it's life-changing for me. However, what I'm saying is on this, if you are feeling, anxious, and this was one of the main reasons actually 4 years ago that I started kind of tinkering with the idea of going alcohol-free for longer periods of time, was because going through like perimenopausal symptoms, I was waking up in the morning after even like one glass of wine or something, feeling very, very anxious. So it is anxiety. Again, we know it's high in sugar. So just everything that James has just said about sugar, that's exactly one of the reasons why alcohol is going to make you more anxious, but also it is a depressant. Most people think, it relieves stress. It makes me feel better. It gives me a little bit of a high. Well, yes, for a short amount of time, it might, but actually it's going to make your anxiety so much worse in the long term. It causes inflammation in the body, in the gut, in the brain. So just be really aware of that. And I'm not saying, as I said, I'm being really puritanical about it. But if you are using it as a crutch, which so many people do, and we understand in the crazy world that we're in, high levels of stress, momentarily it kind of brings that stress level down, kind of signals to your brain that you can relax and calm down. But just playing it forward and thinking to yourself, okay, how am I going to feel tomorrow, especially if it's a school night? How am I going to feel tomorrow morning? What are my goals? What are the other things that I want from my life that actually alcohol might be stopping me doing? And that kind of anxiety level is really, really important. So maybe just keeping it to the weekend, or at least planning it. Planning what nights, on what days you might be having a drink. So that's that one. Yeah,
I'd say the other thing to note about alcohol is, like, if you are going to drink, obviously in moderation is better than in a lot, but also pick your drink. So
yes,
estrogen and serotonin have a symbiotic relationship in the body, so they're directly related. Serotonin is our feel-good hormone. So when we drink alcohol that's high in sulfites, specifically your white wines and your fizzy wines.
Sorry, that's my email pinging. Let me turn that off.
Those sulfites actually lower estrogen production in the body, which means then in turn you get a knock-on effect of serotonin being lower, which is why, particularly for the women out there listening who are obviously more estrogen dependent than men, if you have had a lot of fizz or a lot of white wine, the next day that anxiety can be a lot worse.
It's really good to explain that, actually. Thank you for explaining that, because it is really important. So many women go, oh my goodness, I didn't realise that at all. So yeah, the next one is sleep. I'll hand that one over to you.
Yeah, so I get sleep. I guess there's a few aspects to this. Like, obviously, if we're not getting enough of good quality sleep, then we're going to feel tired, stressed. That in itself can lead to anxiety. You know, when we're stressed, like the brain chemistry changes, it makes us more prone to anxiety. So there's that aspect of making sure that we're getting enough good quality sleep, and most adults do need, like as research shows, you know, the average is a good solid 8 hours per night.
7 to 8 hours.
The other thing is, like, just make sure you've got good sleep hygiene going into winter. So yeah, we were talking about this yesterday. Sleep is so important. It's important for our hormonal health, our immune health, our mental health, emotional health. So let's make sure that our bedroom is nice and dark, that we've eliminated as many electronic devices from it as we can. We definitely don't want to be looking at those blue screens before bed, because, again, that will stimulate dopamine. It will interrupt melatonin, which is meant to release to help us sleep. All the kinds of things. Well, psychologically, we might get drawn into that scroll hole, the old doom scrolling.
That's going to increase your anxiety, strangely enough.
Make sure it's as quiet as it can be. Try and have a regular pattern of going to bed and getting up at the same time every day, rather than being all over the place. And my last point, I've completely forgotten as I speak about it.
It's
Sleep
okay.
hygiene. Temperature. That was it. Temperature.
Especially for us hot sweats, for us ladies.
It's winter. We might crank the heating up, but if you're suffering from hot flashes already, that's not going to help. Generally, we require our ambient temperature to be a little bit lower than normal for sleep. It's more comfortable for most people.
Making sure we're getting enough fresh air in our room, actually, as well. It kind of goes on to the point that I'm going to give you in a couple of couple of points. But the next one is obviously exercise. Now, listen, we know it's much harder to get ourselves up and exercise in the winter. It's dark, it's nice and cozy in bed, and it might get dark at like 3:30 in the afternoon, and we'd want to go home and snuggle up. But actually, we really need to be exercising for our levels of anxiety and our moods, you know, because every piece of research says that it really kicks in those feel-good hormones. However, what we're not saying is you've got to do anything crazy. I always say do what you enjoy, do what you can fit into your schedule as well. Don't overcomplicate exercise, and don't set yourself up with these grandiose expectations. Even just getting outside and doing, you know, like a 10-minute walk, a 15-minute walk is better than nothing. So don't think that you've got to go and pound the pavements, or you've got to get yourself actually to a gym. Just doing something is really going to help those levels of anxiety. Getting going is the hardest part. I actually speaking to someone about this the other day, and she said, "Oh, Claire, you know, you really inspired me. I hadn't done anything for years and years." She's actually the lady that does my nails. And she was like, "Claire, I'm finally doing stuff because you inspired me. You know, I feel so much better, but it was really hard getting going." Now she's 3 months into exercising even just a couple of times a week. She's like, "I literally can't believe how my mindset has transformed." But we all know it's hard to get going, but momentum breeds momentum. And you will absolutely start to experience those positive feelings from exercising more regularly.
So the next one is tricky if you're in the northern hemisphere, but you know, you could be listening to this. We have listeners around the world, I'm pleased to say. They might be in a sunny clime.
I know. You Brits always talking about the dark, dark wintry weather.
I'm imagining our listeners over there in sunny southern states of the US. But yeah, if you're in the northern hemisphere, obviously getting sunlight in winter can be challenging. Now, there's a few things on this. You know, we want to get outdoors as much as we can anyway. It's great to get the fresh air, but obviously vitamin D is a steroid hormone we synthesize through exposure to sunlight, and it does have, vitamin D is linked again. So deficiency in vitamin D is linked to anxiety and depression. So we do want to try and get out as much as we can to try and absorb. We'll still absorb some sunlight, even if it's cloudy. But I'd say if we are in these dark environments, then we definitely want to supplement with vitamin D. It's great for our hormone health. It's great for our immunity. It will help with anxiety and depression. And you might want to consider something like a sad lamp as well, which basically, you know, simulates having a brighter environment around you. Because there is research showing that, like, being in the dark and the gloom can also affect people in terms of their mental states. So get a sad light, take your vitamin D, get outdoors as much as you can. That will help.
It massively helps getting outside. And the next one is journaling, actually. This is really, it's such a powerful thing, but it takes commitment to doing this, and it takes a conscious effort, especially if we're not used to spending and prioritizing the time to just sit down with ourselves for like 5 minutes and journaling. So what I would say on this is, a lot of the time when we're feeling anxious, we've just got this, we're renumerating over and over and over again in our mind about all of these things. We're trying to control everything. We're constantly anxiety is basically worrying about the future. That's where anxiety, we often say that depression comes from looking over the past. Anxiety is very much about worrying and renumerating over what might happen in the future. So what we suggest, and it's so powerful, it's absolutely what I do, is even just for a few minutes, get a pad and paper and just get it out of your head. Because it's a very, very, it's a very freeing thing to get it out of your head, get it down on a piece of paper and see it for what it is. When it's all jumbled and messed up in your head, you can't see the wood for the trees. But actually, even getting it down on a piece of paper makes it more manageable. You're able to get a better perspective around what's going on in your head when you get it out in writing. So even that, I mean, there's different ways, especially when we work with one-to-one clients, and actually even in our program, the Midlife Reset, we really take people through a process of what to do after you've journaled some of that stuff and got it down in paper. Haven't got necessarily time to go through that process right now, but even try, give it a go, getting it down on paper, getting it out of your head and seeing it for what it is and getting a better perspective.
I'd say a really useful tip, if you're one of these people that when you go to bed, you're struggling to get to sleep, this is where these things are all interlinked, because those thoughts from the day start whirring and those fears start coming. There's a lot of research showing that actually just writing that down, writing the things that are bothering you down in a journal can really help then kind of soothe the subconscious. You're kind of letting that stuff go. You've given it to the paper, so it will allow you to actually be more relaxed to sleep.
You've given it away to the paper. Given it away. Otherwise, that negative Nancy's just going constantly.
Okay, so our final point here is gratitude, the power of gratitude. So again, I've got a couple of things on this. The first is linked to the last point, journaling.
Yes.
When you get up in the morning, so here's the thing. We're kind of hardwired to look for the negative aspects in our environment. It's an evolutionary survival tool. What's a potential threat out there? So it's very easy to let our thought train become focused on the negatives in our life and the things that we don't have or the things that are going wrong. So we want to try and take control of that and flip it around by focusing on the stuff that's actually good in our lives. So a really good thing to do first thing in the morning, help set your state for the day, is think about 3 things you're grateful for from the day before, 3 things you're grateful for in your life generally, and then set a positive intention for the day. So that power of gratitude, and there's lots of research on this from schools of positive psychology, can actually help you feel more optimistic and more present in your life when you do it consistently. I'd say the other thing is, in the moment through the day when we might feel that anxiety coming up, gratitude and anxiety are opposing states. You can't be feeling grateful and in anxiety at the same time. So if you feel that anxiety starting to come up, just take a breath, recognize it, and then focus okay, let me think of something I'm grateful for in my life, or something great that happened the day before or even happened today. And if you really allow yourself to feel the emotion of it, that gratitude, it will help push that anxiety down.
Yeah, you just said exactly what I was going to say. And here's the thing, it's difficult. I was speaking to a client the other day on a one-to-one coaching call, and she was like, I find it really hard, Claire, like doing my gratitude list. I find it really, really hard. And I'm like, that's okay. Again, it's not a quick win. Like, we expect these things to be really easy and really quick. And this is another one of those things, like exercising. What momentum breeds momentum. Once you become more grateful for things, you'll find more things to be grateful. You'll find it easier to get into the flow of gratitude. But at the beginning, it's going to feel really clunky. You're going to feel a little bit like you're paying lip service to it. Until you get into the habit of it. So one of the things I said to her actually was go back to a memory. In order to kickstart that feeling of gratitude, go back to a memory that you have where you felt really grateful and in the moment and really present with it. And she was like, okay. And we just sat with it for a moment. We didn't try and rush it, but she went back to a memory of when she was seeing a sunset, where she was somewhere really beautiful. And actually that got her into the slipstream, into the flow of feeling grateful. And then guess what happened? She was able to feel more grateful about other things in her life. So even just being patient with yourself, not trying to rush it, but maybe go for a memory where you remember feeling really grateful, can connect to that, and then you can get more into the present moment of what you feel grateful for right now.
Yeah, I would say the other thing is like, don't overthink it. Be like, oh, have I got anything to be grateful?
If it's just one thing.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be like, oh, I won 100 grand on the lottery, I'm really grateful. It could be just be like, oh, you know what, that cup of coffee I had a couple of hours ago was really nice. I'm really remembering how great that coffee was, how nice it tasted. I'm really grateful I had that experience. It can be really small things.
Well, I would argue that it's actually the really simple, small things that we can feel the most amount of immense gratitude for. I know that I notice so much more in my life now that it's those small things that seem to trigger the most gratitude. Like earlier on this morning when we took Lola, our dog, out for a walk, and just seeing her walk down the road, turning around, she was off the lead, and turning around and just seeing her big smile coming towards me. Like my heart just was so grateful. And these little things, and the colour of the leaves right now in autumn. So it's those little things that you can start getting lots of pleasure from. And like I said, gratitude breeds gratitude. Once you start feeling grateful for certain things, you're kind of rewiring that muscle for gratitude in those neural pathways in your brain, and you can start noticing other things. And it's such a joyful way to be. That sense of gratitude is really, really joyful. And it's been really hard for me. James, I would say, is finds it much easier to be grateful than I do. I think just in my life, it's that kind of like danger and the barriers up and being on high alert. So it's been a real challenge for me to access those feelings of gratitude. But again, I'm so much better than I was. I still find it tricky, don't get me wrong, but actually the more I've practiced it, the more I'm able to feel that gratitude. So I just wanted to say that.
That's great. Well, I hope that helps. Let's just recap those, right? So it's minimise the sugar in your diet, moderate your alcohol intake, make sure you're getting enough good quality sleep, exercise regularly, get that sunlight exposure, consider that vitamin D supplementation, journal, and practice gratitude daily.
And I would say, James and I both discussed this before we jumped on to record this. In the moment, what can you do when you feel anxiety creeping in? Well, we haven't got time to go through all this, but just consider something like EFT, emotional freedom technique. Tapping really, really helps because it actually takes our mind off the anxiety and onto our body. So EFT, definitely look up a little bit more about that and how that helps with anxiety, but also breath work. I found breath work really, really powerful for me. So just a couple of techniques that you might want to look into a little bit more if you're feeling anxiety coming up, feeling even like panic attacks and things like that. Just look into those tools in the moment for yourself. Like James said, I hope you found that helpful. I know we've done some stuff around anxiety before. We just really wanted to recap as we're going into into winter, because we know a lot of us are feeling that kind of like winter blues coming on. So listen, sending you lots and lots of love. As always, reach out to us if you have any questions or any ideas that you think we might want to cover on this podcast. And we are sending you lots and lots of love.
Yeah, till next time.
Take care.
Yeah.
You've been listening to the Midlife Mentors with Claire and James Davis.
We'd love to hear from you. So drop us a line at info@themidlifementors.com with any questions or topic suggestions.
And make sure you join us on our Facebook page and YouTube channel. You can find us under the Midlife Mentors.
Yeah. What? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode. And don't forget to take the Midlife Reset Audit now to receive personalised insights into what's holding you back from living your healthiest, happiest midlife. So go ahead and take the audit now at themidlifementors.com/audit.